Greetings and salutations. We are here, what I like to call Christmas, the countdown begins, because every year in the book trade, when a certain series of books arrives, people freak out and say it's like Christmas trees going up too early. The new Ross is here, and joining us in the studio is none other than Paul Hart. Welcome.
Pleasure to be here.
This is number
16, and I get that ding dong merrily and a high feeling as well whenever it's time to start talking about a new Ross book.
Yeah, you're kind of freaking us out. We should have put tinsel up or something like that. So yeah, number 16.
Yeah, it's
wow.
Yeah, and I'm sort of going back to the beginning with this one because he's gone back playing rugby. So people might be quite shocked actually to see him on the cover wearing the jersey of Sea Point Rugby Club, and I think it's always been his plan obviously it's always been his plan that one day he's going to play for Ireland, that they're going to discover this great talent, and now he suddenly realised he's 35 years of age. So what happens is it begins at Christmas time, and he's at the Castle Rock College annual Christmas Mass, and he meets an old Jesuit priest who comes up to him and says, "What a career you've had, this priest works with the missions in Botswana, and he just says, I've just been following your career from afar, all those Grand Slams, all those Heineken Cups." And halfway through the conversation, Ross realises that the priest thinks he's talking to Brian O'Driscoll, and he realises he's let his life slip away, and so he goes at 35 years of age. He goes to Sea Point Rugby Club and says, "I want to play rugby." So it's his comeback book, really.
No spoilers, but it sounds awesome. And like, it's not, it's not a self kind of. You're not writing about yourself, obviously, because you're already a legend. So you don't need to do that. But the inspiration behind, like, I suppose, like every year, you finish this one, wherever you are in the next one. Like, what is it? Is it sitting on the dart? Is it going just a regular? Or where are you getting the inspiration for all this?
I suppose a lot of it is just a product of my own sick imagination, But yeah, there's always times when I'll overhear something in a pub, or at the beginning when I started writing Ross, I would go to Kylie's. I would actually go to where I had to be to find material on these people, and I would just put up a bar stool and sit there in Kylie's. I can't do that now because my face is a little bit more well known than it was back then, but I could get away with it 10 years ago. Yeah. So now a lot of it comes from, some of it does come from things I overhear, but a lot of people come to me on social media and tell me stuff, So Ross is on Twitter and he's on Facebook, so people do come to me and they say, they'll tell me a story about their brother or their friend or their sister, and something outrageous that happened. Like, for instance, about a year ago I wrote a story about in the Irish Times column about Surika going to honours communion, and how she did so many appointments in the morning for her hair, her nails. She said, I can't really fit the churchy bit into the schedule. And by the churchy bit she meant the communion. But that story came from a real story I heard. Actually, somebody came to me on Twitter and said, there's a woman who was a kid in my daughter's class, and she rang up and asked for permission to not actually go to the church bit because they had a bouncy castle coming and something else, the caterers or something like that, and they just couldn't fit the actual communion in around the schedule they had for the day.
This is obviously book 16 in your trilogy, as you referred to it. Is there an end game? Like, I have this vision of you're like, Vince Gilligan, Breaking Bad. like, do you see, like, is there a number to finish at, or is
He's not going to start selling crystal meth.
No, okay.
I want to put that out there right now. That is not going to happen.
But is there a point where even if it's not an end book, do you see an end for him somewhere? Have you an ending in your head? Or
I haven't thought of it. I did at the beginning, and because I do joke about the trilogy thing, because it did start off as a trilogy, and I didn't anticipate there being a fourth book, and then I certainly didn't anticipate there being a 16th book. But I really just go from book to book, and I always feel that if it's fresh, and if people are still enjoying the books and I'm still enjoying writing them, and as long as there are things happening that things that interest me that I can kind of parlay into the books, and then I'll continue writing them indefinitely. I'll probably be here in 10 Christmases time. You and I'd be two old men.
Yes, on even more comfortable chairs. Anybody who reads the titles of the books, obviously you're a massive pop culture fan. So as regards, there must be a pressure also on the title every year, because you're kind of every year you've kind of brought up whatever's hot at the time.
Yeah.
So that pressure on what the next title is, as much as writing the book must be. Are you hugely involved in that, or is it you splatter about 10 other people and then you all sit in the room and go, right, one by one, rip them out?
They come at different times, and sometimes with great difficulty, and then sometimes, like Mamma Mia, for instance. I knew 2 years before I wrote Mamma Mia that I was going to write a book called Mamma Mia, because I just liked the sound of Mamma Mia. And I didn't even know what it was going to be about, but I knew it was going to be called Mamma Mia. So sometimes I'll come up with a great title, and the story, I will kind of bend the storyline to fit the title. This one, Game of Thrones, because Ross he's not a hooker, or he's not a kicker in it. He's not number 10. The only place on the team for a man of his girth at 35 years of age is in the front row. So he's the hooker. So he's taking the throw-ins, and that was one of those that it just occurred. You just hear that bing. But already I know I'm plotting the next book at the moment. I haven't a clue what it's going to be called, and I'm just hoping for that moment of inspiration. It needs to come in about 10 days time, sometime the next 10 days.
Fantastic. Well, there's always that pressure if you think of it too early, that you're like, for 2 years sitting around going, I hope no one else comes up with that.
Well, there is that as well.
And you, like, as a writer, I love drawing back the curtain and thinking about, how you write. So is there a room of doom, as I like to call it, where it's darkness and there's loud music and you're typing away?
Torture chamber,
or are you much more like are you one of those cafe people who loves to sit in the cafe?
I can't work in a cafe. And I don't know why, because when I was a sports journalist, I worked in cafes. I worked, in airports under great pressure, knowing, I was getting on a flight for 10 hours and I had to send something to the Sunday Tribune in the next hour and a half, and I have nothing written. So I was always able to work like that as a journalist. I think I've probably become kind of soft in that way in my habits, that I like to be sitting at my desk now. But nothing. I mean, I just need silence, and I'm more comfortable at the desk in the house. Like occasionally I have to work somewhere else, but I just find it more productive if I go to my little office in Avoca and work there.
I suddenly have this vision of making a Ross playlist. I can imagine what he'd listen to. It's just the most.
We Will Rock You probably over.
Toto Africa's got to be in there. And like, just kind of, we all know, everybody who knows you and follows you on Twitter, both yourself and Ross, you're a big Star Wars head. Speaking of rooms of doom. So like, I'm fascinated because on the nerd side of things, it obviously means a lot to you. You're a huge fan. And what did you think of the last one?
I loved it, absolutely loved it, and I felt like I was waiting for it since 1983. I mean, I'm not too down on the middle trilogy. I mean, I think I don't think people hated Jar Jar Binks as much as they think they did. At the time, it was vaguely annoying.
He's now a legend.
But and then when the internet came out, everybody sort of came to the same conclusion looking back. He was terrible. But I don't remember him ruining the movies for me at the time. But anyway, the last movie, it was it just blew my mind. I've seen it. I think I saw it about 4 or 5 times in the cinema. I had to keep going back. I love the new characters. I think they're amazing. And Han Solo, that moment, and even I saw it in the trailer, and it still didn't ruin it for me. In the movie, when Han Solo and Chewbacca appear, and they say, "Chewie, we're home." It's just
people
incredible,
wailing.
It was a real it sounds like a lot of.
I'm surprised you haven't.
It was a real emotional experience going to see it.
Well, there's another few years, but I'm surprised you haven't done a Star Wars riff on titles wise. So there's so many. He's like,
Rogue. Rogue, certainly knew the word rogue.
Well, I'm we're going to leave there because Christmas is officially landed and we're very busy now.
It's here.
Like, thanks for that. The elves are outside trying to get. So Game of Thrones is now available out in stores and online at Eason.com. Number 16. We look forward to number 26.
I'll get working on it.
I'll have the hip replacement in.
I'll have the card to get the hero name.
It's been absolutely fantastic to see you, and good luck with the book.
Thanks, Dave.
And see you again soon.
Brilliant. Merry Christmas.